Okay, so this is a discussion of the three components of the MPower console system, what they do, and how they mount on the bike. So first of all, box one, the larger box, comes with the console itself, a bracket to mount the console to the bike, and what we call the speed sensor. The speed sensor is essentially a cadence monitor. It essentially monitors RPMs of the rider. The speed sensor actually has two parts connected by a screw. You take the screw out, and then you have the sensor inside. This sensor mounts to the front of the chain guard. Right here you can see I have another sensor mounted to the bike. There's two screws that are already in the chain guard. When you get a sensor, you pull the screws out of the chain guard, put the sensor on, put the screws back through it. The key with the speed sensor, what it's doing is actually there's a magnet embedded inside the flywheel. Every time that magnet goes around, the sensor picks it up. It's essentially the way an outdoor bike computer works. So the key when you're mounting this sensor is to get it as close as you can to the flywheel without having it rub. So you put the screws, I have these screws on fairly tightly, but enough where I can move it around, and I find the easiest way is you can literally spin the wheel a little bit and hold it up till you can feel it rubbing, and then just back it off a little bit. You get like a credit card distance between there, tighten it down, and you're good to go. Okay, we've been talking about the speed sensor. We call it the speed sensor. It's important to know because it can be a little confusing. The speed sensor, what we call the speed sensor, is really only measuring RPMs. It's measuring cadence, how fast the wheel is turning. So it's a bit of a misnomer to call it a speed sensor because that's actually not related to the measurement on the console that is speed, which we'll talk about in a minute. The third component of the system is the power sensor. And that comes in box two, small box. And inside there you have the power sensor, you have a gasket, and then screws and a battery to mount it to the bike. I've got the power sensor mounted here. It mounts to the side of the brake assembly. Flat side goes up, like so. Two screws hold it on, and you're good to go. It goes under this fender, so when you're done putting it on, put the fender back on, and you're all set.